President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is worried that Nigeria continues to depend overwhelmingly on imported steel, stating that the country must reclaim its industrial future by reviving the long-abandoned Ajaokuta Steel Company. Now speaking at the opening of the National Steel Summit in Abuja, the president, represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, said, and I quote, "Despite our vast deposits of iron ore, limestone, and coal, Nigerian imports are more than 90% of the steel it consumes. The Ajaokuta Steel Company, once our industrial crown jewel, stands idle. This is not just an economic failure, it is a threat to our sovereignty." Now, for more on this, we have Arise News analyst Dayo Sobowale joining us for a discussion on the reviving of the steel industry and how to stop the bleeding of the nation's treasury due to the mismanagement of the Ajaokuta Steel Company. Always great to have you here, Mr. Sobowale. Good afternoon.
Yeah, it's a pleasure being here, studio.
Well, you know, the president used some strong words there, a sovereign threat, and it's a strong statement, but honestly, what concrete steps can be taken to identify and even maybe prosecute some of the individuals who have been responsible for the alleged corruption and mismanagement of this Ajaokuta steel plant, the crown jewel, as the president called it?
I think, let me correct one thing. Calling it a sovereignty threat is a misnomer. It is a security threat. It is a security threat. And it is very amazing that we are in the same situation that the U.S. is in, and that has made Trump to be putting tariffs on imports of steel into the U.S. He put 50%, for the simple reason that America, which was an industrial nation, started outsourcing to China, India, and those people learned the trade because of course, cheap labor. And those people learned the trade and became competitors. Now they are importing from them, because that's why it's furious. Our own situation is that we wanted to be like the rest of the world and go into industrialization. That's why we set up the project. But it never took off, just like our refineries, which never worked. So obviously, there are some factors at work making sure that we can't compete.
I.e. corruption.
That's right.
Corruption.
Corruption. How do I put it? Because corruption, it seems you want to run away from the problem if you say corruption. That means we have people who thought out these things to put them on the ground. And over time, they were about to work. But the military came in, do you get me? Then later, the civilians came in. Yes, the projects, some people are saying that we need industrialization to compete, to make things, to make ammunition and things, to defend ourselves, to feed our people. But the thing is still there. That's what is called the white elephant. So if they are reviving it, well, it's not the first time that people have come out to say they are reviving it. But it is not a sovereign threat. It is a security threat. Let me correct that.
All right.
Let's leave it at that.
Also, Mr. Sobowale, it's a security threat, and there's a white elephant, and people that are profiting from this and committed to making things stay the way they are. How do we get past that?
Well, we keep trying. We keep trying. This is, you see, it's going back to the starting point every time. They say now, this time it will be different. You have to believe them and look at what they are saying. That we should be able to make the things we need to defend ourselves, to feed our people. You can only trust the intention of government, that's all.
From an observer's point of view, were there any recommendations you might make to also be included to make this time different?
That's why I told the story. This is an economic history, applied economic situation. We've been at it. Some people amongst us there thought this out, that to catch up with the rest of the world, to live in the modern world, you must industrialize. Our people have always known that. That's why we've had 5-year rolling plans. It's not as if everything has ground to a halt, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But you see, like you said, and I didn't want to admit corruption has eaten deep into our best intentions, so that if any government comes and say, this time around it is different, we listen to them, we believe them. And at the end of the day, you see how far they have gone. If you like what they have done, you retain them in power by voting them back. And if you don't, the free and fair election, you tell them to go.
This is just another example of the many points of waste that we have in the country. We have
the refineries are there.
The refineries as well.
Major issues. The refineries and Ajaokuta.
So now that the president is directing his attention to it and is calling the entire situation to order, we're wondering what could be done differently that hasn't already been done before. How can this chapter be rewritten in a way that says, hey, President Tinubu actually succeeded this time in getting this steel company off the ground? What can be done differently?
That's what they will discuss at the conference.
The
question is don't be pessimist, don't be very pessimist, and don't let us be held down by past failures.
Right.
It's our nation. We keep on jump-starting and getting on our legs to make things work. Like Jakuta, the refineries. Even the refineries, we have some hope before now. That by December it will be working, but that one is forlorn.
It would be a great legacy for Tinubu if he can get it off the ground.
It will be fantastic. It will be fantastic. Because that is what Trump is doing in America, trying to bring jobs back. When globalization came, people started outsourcing because of poor cost of production and strategy. But then, those other nations, China and so on, they have more industries than the U.S. That's why we have the Rust Belt in the U.S. And that is what Trump is trying to bring back. They have dilapidated industries they want to revive. We have a steel industry that has refused to start. So we are in the same predicament for two different reasons.
Mr. Sobowale, do you potentially see privatization as a viable solution to this, or would we simply be transferring losses to private investors?
That is what the vice president is saying, that the government cannot do it alone, that they are inviting people and they will make the cost of doing business cheap. They will give them rebate to bring in things to do the steel, to advertise the industry. That's what the conference is going to be about. So don't let us preempt them.
Okay, but
next 2 years we'll see what they're up to.
Well, when you mentioned earlier about those who have been profiting from the way things have been, do you also see foreign contractors and partners that might have contributed to the state of the Ajaokuta steel plant at the moment?
Of course. Corruption does not thrive in a vacuum. It's just like bank fraud. But there must be an insider to lead you on. But I'm happy they are calling on the private. What is important is for the foreign investors to come in and to have the wherewithal. Of course, if there is corruption and they still produce something, it doesn't matter. But they are opening the economic barriers in the country and inviting private sector to cooperate with them. So let's leave it at that.
Well, let's leave it at that. Why don't we? Do you also feel that, given the timeline and everything that is going on in the country at the moment, being positive and knowing that this could very well be part of President Tinubu's legacy?
2030 is their target.
Yes.
2030 to have the steel rolling out.
Do you feel like that's a reasonable timeline, given all the things that we also have to do?
It is.
Okay.
It is. We don't need to think much about that. It is. They have said it. Let's have hope in there.
Okay. So
right.
now that Mr. Sobowale...
Since 1979, this thing has not been working. So all of a sudden, you want me to tell us that this will work? You don't back at the moon.
Well, let's, in terms of taking responsibility, if we're able to identify specifically those foreign contractors and partners that have played a role in this failure, instead of trying to attract people from the private sector to help to revive it, would it be also a great approach to hold them accountable and impose that responsibility or some of the responsibility on them in terms of revival?
I don't see that, except when you become president.
Well,
you can try it.
Okay.
Investment development is work in progress. And it's punctuated by elections. So it is, people have opportunity to put in leaders and to change them if they don't perform. But if they say they have policy, you have to believe they have policy. Until after some time, you assess how far they have gone living up to what they say they want to do. Trump in the US now is implementing his policies, his campaign promises, but his opponents are saying that he's destroying democracy. See the own problem? We have our own form of democracy in which our major projects are held up by corruption, like you rightly said. So that's our predicament. Let's live with it.
We know what we're going to get you for Christmas, Mr. Sobowale. Yeah. One of those red MAGA hats, Make America Great Again. I think you'd love that. Yes, we have to source that. But you know, that whole idea of if your constituents or the people that you've elected in are not doing their work, that you can push them out. I think we can say that in Nigeria, it's a little harder to push them out once they've already entered. So given that, we just hope that they do what they're supposed to do.
You must have free and fair election.
Well, we also know that is also hard because of the corruption.
It has always been difficult to have free and fair election. I'm a realist. I'm not. That's why I say if we have free and fair election. I use my words advisedly.
If and only if.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this discussion. Dayo Sobowale here on Arise News.